All right, so this is what I came up with. This design, if you can see, it looks very similar to the original one. It has the screws on the side, those two screws towards the middle. It was fashioned again around that idea. As you can see from here, it does have grooves and a lifted center. Here you can see these two holes. That's for nuts, and that will become clear during the assembly. This piece, this one, when you print it, you do need to print it with supports because it actually prints like this. And then you need the support for this piece here and this piece here. It did print a little funny for some reason, this version, but you know, I didn't feel like reprinting it because there's the third one because I kept adjusting it till I got what I wanted. And each print took about an hour and a half to 2 hours. This one also has the lip here in the groove. And you see holes here, same as here. This is for the cooling fan for PLA and or any other material. You can see this hole here. And just as a note, just to explain, there is some specific design thought behind this. In here, I know you cannot see it. This actually has a sort of a curve in here on this side. That way, as the air flows in, it gets pushed out this way. And this, you can see this is sort of in an angle. And it's a funny shape here. But I was trying to get some directionality from the air to try to keep it from just blowing out everywhere. So it kind of becomes like a more focused blast of air. We'll see how it works. I haven't tried it yet. I did try it with the fan here separately, and air was coming out with nice force. But we're gonna find out when it comes to printing how I have to adjust it. So what I'm gonna show you here is how this gets assembled. Of course, you're gonna recognize this. This is an extra Hotend that I have. I actually purchased it because I might put 2 Hotends, but I haven't decided that yet. But it's great because I can use it for this demonstration. The way that I have my Hotend put on, this is facing the front. So the cable's running through this side. If you put it this way, with your cable running from this side, it's not a problem. But mine is facing this way, so that's how I'm going to install it. This screws are spaced apart, and they also countersinked through the printing for the same screws that are on there now and the same spacing that are on there now. So if you do print this and you build the plate to the specifications of the schematic, it should be a direct fit. So how does this work, this whole assembly? You will need 3 1-inch 6x32 screws and nuts. Again, if you can see here, they're 6-32. These are the nuts. These are the ones that I purchased specifically because these holes are designed for these nuts. Specific dimensions. The screws are 6x32, 1-inch long. You could get them a little longer, but I necessarily wouldn't if you're doing the exact same setup that I have. 1 inch is perfectly fine. So we have 3 screws and 3 small nuts. So these nuts are meant for the side here to slide into here. So the tip has to be pointing up, and it just slides right in. Same with the other side. Slides right in, as you can see. And if you look at it from here, they line up perfectly in there. So the way this will go is, again, I'm putting this to the side. Just a note, this on my printer print it a little thicker. Not so much that this wouldn't go in, but it'd be kind of tight. So I did have to clean this up a little bit. This little lip here. So you might have to do the same. You might be able to use a little file or something to clean it up to you. Yours might print just fine, just try it out first. So this goes on here, like this. This piece goes on here, like this. And again, I also had to clean this one up a little bit. This gap here is by design, because I wanted to have a little room to tie in this, because if this was perfectly flat against each other, I may not be able to tie in it properly. This screw goes here. This screw goes here. As you can see, it's not a lot of thread, but it will work because this does tighten up. I'm gonna take, these are Phillips. So when you tighten in this, make sure that the gap on here stays pretty even. So do a little bit on one side first, then do the other side. You want this hand tight. This gap should be about 1/16 of an inch, more or less. If you tighten it too much, this will probably end up breaking because of the force. So to me, that's tight. If you look here, it looks fairly even, these fins against this. And you see the space here is about 2/16. So again, my concern with the PLA was that as this block becomes hot, that the heat coming across might melt the PLA. I could be totally wrong and it would be totally fine with the air blowing through it, but I'm not sure. So I printed it with ABS and I made this gap on purpose. So if you've assembled this correctly and you printed it the same way, you should have about 2/16 of a gap here. The distance here is pretty tight, as you can see. I don't know if I put this too low. That was the adjustment that I kept doing. I kept pushing it up till I got a pretty good distance. So this is about the end of this right here. So I should have that much. So if you're printing thin layers, I believe that should not have an issue as long as you're printing everything in one shot and this wouldn't hit a piece. But again, this is all untested. If I need to change the design, I will. Next goes the blower fan. That's what the other two pieces are for. This is a fan that I purchased online. These fans usually come with a little piece that goes right here. I had to cut that off because while I could have designed that right on here, with the printing, I was worried that it would not print properly and I would still have to cut it off, so I just cut it off. This, when you're assembling it, it's gonna be tight, but start like this, come in like this, and then you should be able to get it in. Just line up the hole here, place your screw, and of course the nut goes on the other side. Tighten it just enough that it's tight on there. I don't believe this will come off, but if you find it that it's coming off, put a second nut in the back and that should help lock the nuts together. Right there, that is fully assembled. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to remove the one from the printer and actually put this one on. Not with this hot end, but with the hot end already installed. So I will be switching to that next.